body or in spirit, and join me in singing from our gray hymnal, number 362, Rise Up, O Flame, number 362.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy. Vision and joy.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning. And welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. Founded in 1865, we are a liberal religious people, grounded in community, centered on justice, and lifted by love. Whether you are here in the sanctuary, joining on the live stream, or watching later on demand, we are so glad you have joined us. It matters that you are here. I am Barbara Lynn, one of your lay worship leaders, here to greet you and draw you into our circle where no one is turned away. No matter who you are or what brought you here, we embrace you in the fullness of your being. If you are new to us today and here in person, we invite you to a welcome session directly after the service in the Redmond Room. There you will find friendly volunteers ready to engage with you and answer your questions about our faith and this congregation. There will be donuts. All this and more in the Redmond Room, just through these two double doors and to your left as you enter the hallway. If you are a newcomer in the live stream, I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat so others may greet you and help you feel at home. And please consider filling out our newcomer survey at uua.org/newcomersurvey so we can get to know you better. Our congregation's Sunderland Society is made up of members and friends who have included UUAA in their estate planning. If you would like to learn more about joining this circle, please gather with us today at 1 p.m. in person in the Jackson Chapel or by Zoom for a special presentation and Q&A session on planned giving. If you can't make it to the Jackson Chapel, see the newsletter for the Zoom link. And thank you for considering a gift that will live beyond you. Do you look for joy in your resistance work? What can be more joyful than singing? We will be raising our voices together next Sunday, May 3rd, from 3:30 to 5 p.m. for a resistance song sing-along. And you are welcome to join us here in the sanctuary. As we move more deeply into our time together, let us take a collective breath and settle our minds and our hearts. Each week, we seek the balm of connection, the comfort of togetherness, the quietude of peace. May we bring these gifts to each other. We are gathered in community. We are gathered for worship.
Each Sunday, we light the chalice together. And I don't know about you, but it feels like I have lived several lifetimes since last week when we lit this chalice together. Anybody else? Yeah. I saw a hand raised. Thank you. Yes, present. A long week. Great. So in about my 5th attempt at writing this introduction, I thought, can I just say, I am exhausted. Let's light this chalice anyway. And some of you might have appreciated that brief of an introduction, but then I thought, well, that's not quite it. It's more like, I am exhausted, and so let us light this chalice. This ritual of chalice lighting, we don't do it to celebrate how successful we've been at being a human this week, or how easy things have felt. We don't light it in spite of the fact that we struggle sometimes or have a hard week. The struggle is part of why we light it together. We light the chalice as a way of tapping into something that's bigger than ourselves. Source, the divine, community by whatever names we know it. We draw strength from doing this together. So thank you for doing it with me this morning, because today I really need it. And to help us light the chalice, I invite Allison Halerz to join us on the chancel. For those on the live stream, you are also welcome to light a chalice or a candle, and you are invited to type into the chat, "The chalice is lit in," and then tell us where you are. Will you join me in saying the chalice lighting words? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Allison. Reciting the words of our covenant is another one of our weekly rituals as UUs. Our covenant is not a statement of shared beliefs. It's a set of shared commitments that we make, laying out how we are trying to be in relationship with each other. UUs describe groups of ourselves in many different ways. Some are congregations, others are churches or fellowships. I'd like to offer covens or maybe flash mobs. However we refer to gathering together, we gather knowing that a community is greater than the sum of its parts. So whatever we call ourselves, let us say the words of our covenant together. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
There has been a noticeable uptick in the number of spiders that are roaming freely on the ceilings and walls of my house this spring. Have other people been experiencing this? Interesting. Willa, is this true? There's been spiders? Yeah.
I do not enjoy spiders. It's a hot take, I know. I saw the movie Arachnophobia when I was way too young. And I had nightmares about that movie for weeks and weeks. And I still occasionally will have one of those recurring nightmares. Ooh. Even those little harmless house spiders give me the creeps. And for a long time, I sort of mindlessly would get rid of every one of them that I saw because I was just uncomfortable having them around. Even though I did understand on an intellectual level that they eat the bugs that are even grosser and creepier. So I do understand that. But, what gives me the right? I'm trying to set a better, more loving example for my kids about how we treat all living things, even the creepy things, and especially when they pose no actual harm. So I thought, maybe I should learn something about spiders. Maybe if I get to know them a little bit, I might actually like them. And let me tell you, they are fascinating creatures. And I wanted to share a couple of little facts with you about them. So, did you know that spider silk is stronger than steel? If you scaled spider silk up to just the thickness of a pencil, it could stop a Boeing 747 in flight. That's how strong it is. But it can also stretch up to 40% of its length before breaking. So it is this remarkable material that is both strong and flexible. And there's nothing else like it in nature or that we have made artificially. I also learned that spiders have been on Earth for at least 300 million years. By contrast, we modern humans have only existed for about 300,000 years, so I think it's pretty clear that they're going to be here long after humankind has gone extinct, and they deserve our respect. So, the ones on the walls and the ceilings, I try to mostly leave them alone now. Nothing has really changed. I wouldn't say that I like them. I still kind of get that ick, but I have come to appreciate them. And I know that we share most of our DNA with them, as we do with all living things. We do, in fact, depend on spiders. We need them. We are, in fact, deeply connected to them, as we are to all living things, as we are to the mountains and the oceans and the deserts, as we are to the past and to the future, as we are to one another. As our story for all ages illustrates, everything in the universe, seen and unseen, known and unknown, shares a common origin. We all come from the same spark of creation, the same stuff, the stuff of stars. Written by Marion Dainbauer, illustrated by Akua Holmes. In the dark, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, a speck floated, invisible as thought, weighty as God. There was yet no time, there was yet no space, no up, no down, no edge, no center. No earth with soaring hawks, scuttling beetles, trees reaching for the sky. There was no sky, no you, no me, only the speck, waiting, waiting. And then, the beginning of all beginnings went bang. And in a trillionth of a second, our universe was born. A cloud of gas unfolded, unfurled, zigged, zagged, stretched, collided, expanded, expanded, expanded. Bits bumped, gathered, fused. And throughout the cosmos, stars caught fire. Trillions of stars, but still no planets to attend those stars. And if no planets, then no oceans, no mountains, no hippopotami, no violets blooming in a shady wood, no crickets singing to the night. No day, no night. The stars burned and burned. They burned so long and so hot that some of them exploded, flinging stardust everywhere. And the ash of those dying stars gathered into planets, and the planets circled other stars. But still, no bluebirds, no butterflies, still no snails, no giraffes, still no you, no me. The planets closest to their star stayed very hot. The ones far away grew very old, grew very cold. But one lucky planet, a fragile blue ball we call Earth, was neither too far nor too near. It circled its yellow star, the one we call the sun, from just the right distance and with just the right tilt to be sometimes warm, sometimes cool. Perfect for turning that starry stuff into mitochondria, jellyfish, spiders, into ferns and sharks, and to daisies and galloping horses. Again and again, stardust gave birth to stardust. Dinosaurs lived and died, making room for humans. Our great-great-great-grandparents and all before them lived and died, making room for more and more children. Then one day, in the dark, in the dark, in the deep, deep dark, another speck floated, invisible as dreams, special as love. Waiting, waiting, dividing, changing, growing, until at last you burst into the world. You took a big breath of the same air once breathed by woolly mammoths. You cried tears that were once salty seas. Your hair, once the carbon in a leaf. You and the velvet moss, the caterpillars, the lions, you and the singing whales, the larks, the frogs. You and me, loving you. All of us, the stuff of stars. The end. And now I would like to invite all the children that are present in the sanctuary to follow me to Fa's Chapel for Spirit Spaces as the congregation sings with energy and joy.
Please remain seated as we sing This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Adrienne Marie Brown writes that we are never I. We are of lineage, of collective. I take that to mean that we come from somewhere and that we're never alone, that at the very core of ourselves, we are made up of more than just ourselves. The spiritual practice of giving, of sharing what we have with each other, honors our collectiveness. You are invited into this time of giving together. If you are a visitor or are joining us for the first time, please know that your presence is a gift and you are welcome to let the baskets pass you by. For those called to make an offering, there are many ways to do it. You can text UUAA to 73256. You can visit uuaa.org/giving, or you can add cash or checks to the baskets as they come around. This Sunday, our offering supports the ongoing work of this congregation, or, if you prefer, the ongoing work of this flash mob. I invite the ushers to please come forward now as this morning's offering is generously given and gratefully received. Thank you, Allison. That was lovely. I invite the ushers to please come forward, and I invite you all to rise in body or in spirit. Will you please join me in saying the words of dedication? To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you. Please be seated. Before I have the pleasure of reading a beautiful poem by Nancy Schaefer to you, I'm going to invite us into a moment of centering, just to take a few breaths together in whatever way is best for your body. This poem is called That Which Holds All. Because she wanted everyone to feel included in her prayer, she said right at the beginning several names for the holy. Spirit, she said, Holy One, Mystery, God. But then, thinking these weren't enough ways of addressing that which cannot fully be addressed, she added particularities, saying, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Ancient Holy One, Mystery we will not ever fully know, Gracious God, and also Spirit of this earth, God of Sarah, Gaia, thou. And then, tongue loosened, she fell to naming superlatives as well. Most creative one, greatest source, closest hope. Even though superlatives for the sacred seemed to her probably redundant, but then she couldn't stop. One who made the stars, she said, although she knew technically a number of those present didn't believe the stars had been made by anyone or thing, but just luckily happened. One who is an entire ocean of compassion, she said. And no one laughed. That which has been present since before the beginning, she said, and the room was silent. Then, although she hadn't imagined it this way, others began to offer names. Peace, said one. One my mother knew, said another. Ancestor, said a third. Wind, rain, breath, said one near the back. Refuge, that which holds all. A child said, water. Someone said, Kuan Yin. Then, womb. Witness, great kindness, great eagle, eternal stillness. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she'd thought would be important to say. And everyone sat hushed. Until someone said, Amen.
Let us take some breaths together as those words settle on our hearts. And then there wasn't any need to say the things she'd thought would be important to say. That line from our reading sums up quite well the position I find myself in, standing before you, tasked with exploring the divine spark. I begin with the chalice. As one of your lay worship leaders, I have presided over the chalice lighting many times, and each time I approach the ritual in a slightly different way. Sometimes I speak of the flaming chalice as a beacon we set to the world, a beacon calling us home. Perhaps I offer up light and heat and fire as images of our communal life, of comfort, energy, and belonging. And sometimes I speak of the flame as the light we carry within us, that which burns through us and grants us agency and personhood. Some people call it the divine spark within. What does that mean, the divine spark within? And what can that mean to Unitarian Universalists? Many of us do not believe in God and resist the word divine. Can we engage with these words and find meaning we can all embrace, whatever our belief or non-belief? Let's give it a try. God is a slippery subject. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time holding the concept steady in my hands and in my heart. In the philosophy of religion, one studies what is grandly called the God of the philosophers, examining various proofs for the existence of God. Thus, we have Spinoza's God, or Plato's, or Pascal's, and so on. This can be a fascinating study, and I recommend it to you. But here's the thing. It will not get us any closer to God, because, let's face it, trying to prove the existence of God is a fool's errand. Everywhere we turn, we find ourselves lost in contradiction and ambiguity, dark alleyways, and dead ends. God is a construct, a way of looking at and framing the world. It can mean what you want it to mean, which is both its beauty and its curse. Some say God is a verb, implying movement, development, and action. Those who see God this way have a provocative saying. God, they claim, is Godding. I love that image. For me, it conjures up God expanding throughout the universe, reaching, evolving, Godding. Process theology takes up this idea with the claim that we humans join together with that verb as co-creators of the unfolding universe. Process theology is popular among UUs and is taught in our seminaries. What is God doing when God is Godding? To a process theologian, God is becoming within and along with the expanding universe. This expansion, creation, and evolution, this process is where you will find God. So, what is God? Here is my own personal understanding. The God I carry within, after my UU fashion, is not a supernatural being that we are supposed to believe in. It is not an old man on a cloud judging us and deciding our eternal fate. It does not have a gender. It does not have a plan. It will not help your team win the game or cure your cancer. It answers prayers not through intervention and manipulation, but with its presence, its eternal, abiding presence, mystical and mysterious. Do not mistake this for indifference. To be in God's presence is to be held in love. You are right to wonder how I could possibly know all this. Thank you for asking. The simple answer is, I do not know, and I cannot know. For all my wrestling with philosophy and theology, in the end, I must rest in the mystery. And that mystery, that God, is experiential, not a being, but a presence. I do not believe in God, I experience God. And that experience, for me, is like being poised at the edge of our vast, swirling, incomprehensible universe and gazing into the endless void to confront the unspeakable mystery of being. Such moments can wash over us in countless ways, and they are indescribable. It is as if we are hovering between smallness and vastness, expanding into the boundless universe. Think of our story for all ages and the swirling, coalescing stardust that gave rise to all that is. I call this God, or, to be more precise, the experience of God's presence. But you don't have to. You can feel yourself in the presence of something foundational and existential without having to give it a name, without having to think of it as divine. Wonder is universal and goes beyond language. You don't have to have a name for it to feel it in your bones. Yet, just as in the lovely poem Reese read to us so beautifully this morning, we grasp after language all the same, turning to spirit, mystery, or the title of the poem itself, That Which Holds All. These expressions strive to capture the elusive sense we have of something greater than ourselves, something that cradles us as we move through this endless and eternal universe. I myself have many names for God, and it should come as no surprise that they often conjure up the universe itself. Think swirling vastness, great beyond, or spiral of stars. To me, God and the universe are one. God does not lord over the universe, controlling us like a puppet master. God, the co-creator, unfolds along with us according to the universal laws to which we are all bound. If God is the universe, then God permeates all that is, including us. We are made of the same stuff, stardust, and that animating dust in our DNA of and from the universe is the divine spark pulsing within us. That spark, that tiny flash of life, is the very light our chalice embodies. It is an enduring internal flame, the essence of our being, the light we cast out into the great dark void. We might call it our soul, growing and expanding and, to paraphrase Emerson, inviting us into the full circle of the universe. Thus, the light we engender and tend in our chalice burns within us, alive and life-giving. Whatever we choose to call it, it is our life force, a gift from the universe that we in turn lift up as our gift to the world. It is what we honor in each other, the source of our worth and our dignity, no matter its name. May we cherish it and tend it well. Amen.
I want to invite you to take a moment and reflect individually on one of the first times that you knew or recognized on your own without somebody telling you or a teacher nudging you in a particular direction, when you recognized on your own something important, really important about life, about being human, something that you intrinsically understood or arrived at on your own. Take just a moment to hold that in reflection, and I'd invite you to enter into one of those times, one of those memories. What was that wisdom that you just knew, that you intrinsically understood deep down inside to be true? If I had to guess, I might guess that memories or images or understandings around kindness might have emerged, perhaps goodness, what it meant to be a good human being, perhaps beauty, what beauty means and looks like, maybe the joy that is evoked from that. Maybe it was an experience of love or the meaning of friendship, the difference that those qualities make in our lives. Maybe it was an experience of bravery or courage. Any others? Any others come to mind? Go ahead. Purpose, yeah, understanding purpose. Say that again. Oneness. Empathy, beautiful, beautiful. So deep down inside, finding and understanding these things without the help of anything or anyone else around us. One of those such experiences for me, I've shared on earlier occasions. I grew up in a very complicated household, one that one could describe as abusive in some ways. There was domestic violence in my childhood home, and I watched over years, my mother be physically and emotionally abused by my father. And I knew, even as a young kid, no one had to tell me, I knew as a young kid fundamentally that not just that this was wrong, that my mother was being treated in these ways, but that it would be wrong for any human being to be treated in the ways that I was witnessing. No one had to tell me. I intrinsically understood and knew that. And there's something in that about recognizing human dignity, that I didn't have to be taught it. I understood intrinsically something about the importance of human dignity. Now think about that. That's a fascinating thing, that there are things we understand about the nature of our humanness, about the reasons why we're here, about what it means to live and be alive, that others have not had to teach us or say a single word to us about. We arrive, we have understood, we've gone inside, we can feel the validity of some of these things that we've intrinsically arrived at and come to understand. That kind of deep down knowing, it's part of our Unitarian side of our religious tradition. The Transcendentalists, some of you may be familiar with, in the traditions of literature, they are considered a literary tradition as well, a tradition of philosophical writers and thinkers, but many of them were Unitarian ministers, which you have to dig a little bit under the surface to get to that level of identification and knowing. So they're deeply identified with our UU tradition. Ralph Waldo Emerson was an ordained Unitarian minister. Henry David Thoreau, not clergy, but nonetheless deeply identified with us, and Margaret Fuller, among others, deeply associated with our Unitarian Universalist tradition. And these Transcendentalists are most famous for, most well-known for, their commitment to, their understanding and belief, trust in, faith in, you could say, an unmediated, direct personal experience of whatever we might consider holy, sacred, transcendent, ultimate, you could even say. And in that regard, Ralph Waldo Emerson made quite a reputation for himself. He was relatively young in his career still, and he was invited to give the graduation address at Harvard Divinity School to a bunch of graduating seminarians, folks who had spent years studying religion, philosophy, and ethics, preparing to go out and be ministers in the world to their own congregations and community. And what does he do? He stands up in front of this graduating class at Harvard and tells them that books are not needed to understand what is good or right or essential about being human. Scripture is not needed. And in fact, preachers are not needed, because you can have your own personal, unmediated means no mediators. Books are not needed, scriptures are needed, other people are not needed. You can have an unmediated personal experience of whatever we consider holy, sacred, divine, universal, transcendent. We all have access to this. Now, by the way, he was disinvited from Harvard Divinity School for decades. They did not have him back until he was an old man. So, now here's the challenge in this. We know this to be true, right? It's kind of, there is, we are able to access deep wisdom, insight from within ourselves. But that's not all that courses through us at all, by any stretch of the imagination. We know that there's all kinds of stuff we think, we feel, we at times say that do not reflect the best of what each of us has to offer, or what humanity has as a whole has to offer, including a highly incomplete short list: petty resentments, feeling envious of others, feeling jealous of others, greediness, self-centered thinking, avarice, anxiety, fear, self-obsessive thoughts. This and so much more can occur even in the course of a single day. We can bounce through various feelings and expressions of these. None of this necessarily reflecting those deeper eternal truths or insights or wisdom that the transcendentalists were inviting us to seek and find within ourselves. These, you could say, more everyday thoughts that we experience and go through, they're kind of at the surface realm of our day-to-day human experiences. And the transcendentalists kind of nudged that, you're going to have to go deeper. It's not at the level of these surface level thoughts and experiences that we find that deeper sense of wisdom. You have to go underneath all of that through practices such as contemplation, reflection. Henry David Thoreau added solitude, quietude, experiences out in nature, communion, greater experiences of communion and oneness. We know that the ground of being of wisdom and insight exists within us, and we're able to feel it when we find it. It isn't loud. It's gentle. It's a knowing that resides deep inside that isn't pushy. It doesn't need to be pushy. And when we're able to really center ourselves in that deeper sense of self, that deeper sense of knowing, there's a clarity in that space as well, that we understand things so clearly that we can reside in the gentleness of that knowing and the solid confidence of that knowing. That inner ground of being is what the Transcendentalists felt that each of us have unmediated access to. We can each find on our own. The challenge is not getting caught up in the day-to-day stuff that goes through our heads. And so Emerson described it like this. He said, what we needed to do, individually, each of us, is put life through the fire of thought, the fire of process, you could say. And the language of fire is a good one because you can imagine as a metaphor that it's a burning away of ego-centered chatter. We have to burn away the ego-centered chatter to get to the deeper essential truths about being human that reside inside each and every one of us. That is the spark of the holy, the sacred, of wisdom, of insight within each and every one of us. No matter what you want to call it, the name doesn't matter. We can call it wisdom, we can call it Sophia, we could call it insight, we could call it spirit, we could call it universal law, we could call it God, call it whatever else you want to call it, energy. Those sacred building blocks of the universe reside within each and every one of us. My faith of origin, Hinduism, captures this in a very famous Sanskritic phrase, which is Tattvam Asi, which translated from Sanskrit is that are thou. We are that. We are stardust. We are embodied and brought to life. But I don't think the Transcendentalists went far enough. My Hindu forebears would point out that, hey, if we think that we're made of stardust from the origins of the cosmos and we're linked to everything that has ever existed through time and space and we're able to go within ourselves and find the spark of that original Big Bang and connect to deeper wisdom, universal insight, well, wouldn't that be true for all the other living beings that we're surrounded by? All the animals and other sentient, thinking, living, breathing creatures, aren't they made of the same stardust, the same universal connection, the same universal wisdom? Maybe the sparks are a little bit different, but couldn't we say similar? I was reminded of and deeply thinking about all of this yesterday. You know, it's quite the thing when you have to go and preach to your community on a Sunday morning and just the night before on a Saturday night, your own family's gone through a little bit of a tragedy. We lost a family member last night, a family pet, quite unexpectedly, and it was a young animal, relatively young animal, a young member of our family, animal member of our family. cat who had a blood clot, and which there was nothing to do about. It's quite interesting, this cultural experience of losing animal companions. The family that's impacted loses a family member, and it's precisely that for the family that is going through that. They have lost an integral member of their family. But for everyone else, it's just an animal that's kind of passed away. And that difference occurs, as humans, we get to know each other in varying levels of closeness. But with animals, it takes years of close-up relationship to understand the look in their eyes and what that might mean, or a particular vocalization, or a particular way in which they're close or distant, and what those signals mean, And it's not the type of thing that even a visiting out-of-town family member gets real deep insight into. It's just the people who have been really in close proximity with that animal companion understand that. And so it's only the family members that really experience that loss in the way that they do. And last night we held our little cat, Jingles, all of us in our family, we held him in our arms as he had his last breaths at just 6 years old. And, one of the things I've never understood is you're holding that little life in your hands, and you can see the brightness in it, the life in it, all that it has held and thought and experienced. And how is it that we humans come up with these hierarchies of some lives matter and other lives don't? Heck, we do this to one another as humans, and then we do it to everything else that exists too. Life of the spider doesn't matter as much as something else that's above that. Then we place, of course, it's very self-referential. We place ourselves at the top. And then closer to us are the animals that we can somehow relate to, because we can understand a little bit better how they communicate. Cats and dogs. Horses too, by the way. We understand a little bit better how they communicate. And so we place them up higher on the chain of mattering. But, I've often, does it mean then a quail doesn't matter? During the break, somebody told me they have a friend who has close relationships with quails, and they were like, I think the friend would say that the quails matter, and then I thought, well, what about raccoons? We often think of them as pests, but then I thought, well, Barbara Lynn's had a raccoon as a pet, if you didn't know, by the way. And by the way, this was one of the most fascinating scientific articles I read in the past month. I grew up being taught that sharks are the garbage disposals of the ocean, right? They're mindless. They just eat everything like a mindless Pac-Man. They have social networks and friends. Who would have thought? Sharks have friends. Seriously, this is brand new scientific research happening. So Hinduism would remind us that we aren't the only living entities that Mama Earth has given birth to. And beyond that, if you're a fan of movies or sci-fi, Project Hail Mary, if you haven't seen it, go see it. That movie would remind us that it is highly likely that we are not the only living creatures in this vast universe that we're living in. And if we were to meet them someday, what are we going to do then? Based on this self-referential thinking, they're either below a spider or they're somewhere below us, obviously, because everything else is below us. So, my gosh, it's the thinking we come up with. It just doesn't make sense to me. If we're birthed from stardust, from some kind of cosmic beginning and essence, don't all beings, living creatures, come from that? Including the ones we don't even know about yet. Well, my Native American spiritual teachers would say, but even that is still incomplete. We haven't gone far enough. We are relatives, they would say. And in those traditions, the language of relatives and relationship is explicitly used. We are relatives. We are kin with everything that exists, which includes trees, rocks, stars, clouds, water, the earth. We just had earth communion, dirt communion last Sunday. We are in profound relationship with all of it. And in those traditions, we actually we pray with those things. In advance of taking a limb from a tree, you touch the tree. You thank it for its life, for its existence, because you're taking away a piece of its body. And you thank it for its sacrifice. And you do it in a mindful, thoughtful, intentional way with gratitude and with relationship, rather than simply treating the tree as an object. You do this with taking an animal life. You treat the animal as part of the sacred interdependence that we are all connected to, and you pray with it and thank it for its sacrifice and its existence. And it's not just necessarily a spiritual perspective in those native traditions. We can also think of it scientifically. We know that non-sentient things like rocks, and in those indigenous traditions, we pray with the rocks too. Non-sentient rocks, they vibrate, they hum with life at the atomic level. Everything that exists vibrating and humming, we just might not see it. It's not at a scale of existence that we can easily relate to. And so we relegate it to a lesser form of existence or life. But nonetheless, even the rocks vibrate with the essence of their own existence. And we can be in relationship with rocks and rivers and trees and clouds and wind and rain. We are connected to, interdependent with. These things can be worthy of our respect and regard. Whether that spark of the divine, the holy, insight, wisdom, universal truth that the Transcendentalists spoke of, whether we think that that exists simply between and among us human beings, or perhaps, as Hinduism might invite us to consider, among all living creatures, or as indigenous Native American and other indigenous traditions might invite us to consider, it is within everything around us, all that exists. How we understand those potentialities, I leave for each of us to determine for ourselves. We know that in Unitarian Universalism, we do not dictate to one another what we should think or believe, but one thing I know we can be certain of is that the flame of life, which we symbolically, metaphorically bring alive, we light every Sunday, week after week, but it doesn't need to be lit for it to be present, for it's present inside each and every one of us. That flame of life, that spark of love, we honor it not just in our chalice, but we honor it through our day-to-day living, through coming together week after week as a community to honor the cycles of birth and death and rebirth that we are each profoundly connected to. That chalice, that flame never goes out. We simply help nurture it and carry it along forward as caretakers. May we continue to do so deeply and well.
Will you please rise in body or in spirit and join me in singing a song from our virtual hymnal. The words will appear on the screen. This is, for many of us, a familiar tune, but perhaps new words.
Hold true to what we know.
Beloveds, as you enter this new week, tend deeply and well to that flame that is within you, however you understand it, whether it's a spark of love, your energy, your commitment, your passion to life, to existing as fully and deeply as well as you can. Whatever it is, know that this world we live in needs each and every ounce of it from you, every bit of it that you can nurture, muster, and share. Go forth knowing that you're encouraged, cheered on to bring that flame alive as deeply and as well as you can. Go forth into this new week knowing that this community holds you and supports you in that until we are together again. Blessed be. Amen.